Hi, everybody, and welcome to Leadership Labs Online, an experience for marketplace leaders who want to do three things: hone their skills, add more value to their organizations, and do a better job inspiring the people that they lead. Now, today, our special guest is someone I've known for a long time, Angela Ahrendts. Angela was most recently the Senior Vice President of Apple Retail, as in all the retail for Apple Computer. Before that, she served as the CEO of Burberry in London. She currently serves on several boards, including the Ralph Lauren Corporation, Airbnb, and she also serves as the chair of the board for Save the Children International, an extraordinary organization that literally saves the lives of children. But as impressive as all of that is, what has amazed me most about Angela is how unimpressed she is with herself and how comfortable she makes the people around her feel. So here's my conversation with Angela. So Angela, we're going to talk about human energy, which is something that you talk a lot about, and you're going to define it for us. But before we jump into that, years ago, I met you on one of my dad's Alaskan cruises, which you were so gracious to have lunch with me. And then when you invited yourself on my leadership podcast, if you'll remember, I thought, I'll never ask Angela. There's no way she'd want to do that. And then you were sort of like, hey, why haven't you invited me? So thanks for doing this as well. But in our conversation, you told me a story I've never heard before about your transition from Burberry to Apple. And I think it's such a great illustration and setup for this content because Tim Cook and Apple, they ask you once, twice, 3 times, and you were so content in what you were doing, and you had some concerns about the transition because of your passion for people. So can you just talk a little bit about that back and forth, and then we'll jump right into human energy because all of those things go together. Yeah. So there you are, perfectly comfortable in London. Your family's there. Everybody loves it. You're doing incredible things. You took this 150-year-old, 170-year-old company and turned it around, and then you get that phone call.
Yeah, and and it's a pretty easy no the first couple of times, right?
Well, no, that's not
loyal and you're so entrenched. And
no way, but for us mere mortals, that's Tim Cook calls and says,
well, he wasn't the first one that called.
I know, right, but it's Apple, so
it is.
Hey, we want you to come oversee all of Apple retail, and that was an easy no. But again, go ahead.
No, but if you're loyal, right? And if you're loyal and you're on a mission and you are making the impact that honestly. I reached a point at Burberry after all those years where it's a chapter I'll probably never experience in my life again. I mean, I'm sure you and have had to go through, it's an amazing chapter. And you think that it's absolutely impossible that anything, but I understood the scale was tenfold, right? But I thought I had the most incredible job in the world. And so the first couple of times they called and I had a cup of coffee with one of the recruiters and I listened kindly but it was kind of a no. And one year they knew I would be back for Christmas. And so they then called and said, well, would you have a cup of coffee with Tim? And, rude to say no.
Yeah.
Even though in the back of my mind. And I will tell you, I was mesmerized by him. I mean, he's a man of incredible peace for the daunting task that he has at hand. I don't to this day know how he does it. But, so I was fascinated and I loved how he described retail and his vision for what he wanted. But it still didn't feel right for me for a myriad of reasons. And we kind of went back and forth on the phone, whatever. And then one day he just said, well, what would it take?
Yeah.
And it was funny because even before that, he's like, well, I have an offer. I'd love to send you an offer. And I said, I don't want an offer. Like, it's not about money. Like, no. I have to decide I'm going to do it. And then if we reach agreement that we're going to do it and what we're going to do, then we can get into all the details.
So I'm going to interrupt because when you say, it's not about money, everybody listening is like, oh yeah, that's what we all say. It's not about the money. But the reason I wanted to interview you is because it really wasn't about the money, because you have a passion that you had been able to export and inculcate into the culture where you were, that you're thinking, okay, I'm not sure they're going to buy it. So then you started selling it. So go ahead. Mm-hmm. You said, what would it take? And you said,
I just sent him I said, let me think about it. Mm-hmm. And then I, had talked to a number of people, et cetera. And then I just sent him an email and I just said, again, I kind of, with the iPhone coming out and everything happening, and I just said, if you are open to putting all of retail together, the app, the online, and the physical, and you are open to overlaying your philanthropic efforts and letting us put that through the stores to impact communities, et cetera, I said, then it would have to be something I would consider. And he came back in an email about 10 minutes later and said, well, I never thought about it like that, but okay. I'm like, now what do I do?
Yeah, this is 2013. 2013. Okay, just to put that in context for people. So you negotiated not your salary, you negotiated impact, vision, and community impact. So talk some more about that.
Yeah. The success of Burberry, the financial success of Burberry, that's the output of all of the incredible initiatives that we were doing inside and how connected the team was. And we had a tagline inside that said, how many lives can we touch and transform by the power of our performance?
Not how many overcoats can we sell. Yeah.
And again, that's the objective. But when you unite people, they just all do a better job at whatever their job is because they're happier.
You had at Burberry created, you call it human energy, and you discovered really, and it's what I want to talk about, a formula to bring about, to identify, and to fuel human energy that you say really fueled the transition at Burberry, and it's what created such a happy, wonderful place for you to work.
Yeah.
So you eventually give in and say, oh, okay, if you'll allow me to put these three huge components together, not for the sake of selling more stuff, but for the sake of more community impact. And he said yes. And so just for our audience, you should know, and correct me if I'm wrong, these big, beautiful stores with the glass walls, with the benches, with the classrooms, with you walk in to purchase something, there's 100 people sitting there watching these big screens. That was all your idea, not simply to get people into the store, but to impact the community through this fabulous company. So talk a little bit about that. Then I want us to kind of tease out these three components. So the whole classroom thing, we'll talk about all that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
because you walk in, they've got these big icons, and it used to be like, I've interrupted you, but you go to the Apple store and there's a genius bar because none of us are geniuses, and you wait in line and you get your thing, you go to, because you got 50 questions and they want to fix something, and you saw all that and saw it differently.
Yeah, and I'm a very intuitive person, so I think, once you decided to do it, and of course you've got a 6 months transition, and so you're in your mind, and you're talking to people, so you kind of have and I said that I'm a connector, and I'm connecting the dots between everything Apple does, whatever, and so you kind of have a little bit of a vision of what you want to do, but you also have 55,000 employees around the world
already
that have been there for a really long time.
Yeah.
The most successful retailer in the world on a per square foot basis, right? So not broken, don't fix it. But maybe they know of other things you can also do better, et cetera. So my thing is, you come in with your own background, experience, expertise, right? You kind of have a rough idea, but my dad used to always say, ask questions, don't make assumptions. And so I've just learned to listen over the years. And so I went in and we started a couple of work streams. And one was we asked 55,000 employees around the world, what do you feel Apple should be doing more of in your community?
And that was brilliant. So for all the marketplace leaders, no, because you recognize we have a gold mine through the experiences of our employees that we haven't mined with the question, because they live in the community. So to ask them, hey, what can we do with Apple to make your community better? Nobody had asked that question before. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, and even slightly even before that, I had done a video, and I said in one of my very first videos, I said, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to turn ourselves upside down, because I want you to help guide where we're going. But I'm going to ask you to turn yourself inside out, because you need to be a bigger part of the community and you need to make a bigger impact. So early on, I had kind of set the stage for that. So we started all these multiple work streams, and then we started sharing facts with them, because I said early on that I truly felt Apple was an incredible company, and you would listen to Tim on the investor, and he would talk about the hardware and the software and the services, and I had all my own Apple devices, and everybody at Burberry had an Apple device, and but I felt that when I would go into the stores, that I didn't feel everything Tim was talking about on the investor calls, and I didn't feel that it was everything that I was doing with my device. I felt I could buy hardware and I could get something repaired. And so the goal was, the original code name for the experience was iOS Live. How do we take all of those apps that are on your screen, music, photos, et cetera, and how do we make those, what would be the live experience of that? And along the way, we discovered all of this stuff that Apple owned. Apple owned GarageBand, and they were launching Apple Music. And arts have been taken out of a lot of the public schools, et cetera. So maybe we can lean in there. Maybe we can invite all the kids to come in and have free classes on music creation and production and, et cetera, et cetera. So that was kind of the genesis of it. But then as we started getting the feedback from all the employees, and they came back and said, yes, we need to help our community. We need to help our educators because they're falling behind. And so they created Teachers Tuesdays and had them come in free of charge and learn. And we need to help our entrepreneurs because they don't all know how to, and there's so many in the community. And we need to help our senior citizens.
And this
with
all
certain
came
classes.
from employees?
That all came, all of the different constituents that they felt we needed to help. All came from them. So we took those.
But the stores were not designed for any of that.
No.
So that's a big, expensive problem to solve. If it's the problem the company wants to solve, and you convince them it's not just the problem to solve, it is our greatest opportunity. So what happened?
Yeah. What I also said when I went in was, because I was a huge admirer of what Steve Jobs had created, and I was a student. And then we had applied some of that at Burberry. So what I said was, I'm only coming in to pick up where he left off. Like, I want him, and I tried to use him as the lens. What would he do? And Johnny Ive was very involved with him. And so Johnny got very involved in the new store design and introduced us to Foster and Partners in London. So we had this amazing group of people. I just wanted the best of Apple to come together in these stores, all components of Apple. And so, for a consumer, and I wanted the consumer, when they walked into the store, it was like walking into their device, right? But they could have a physical experience of what they were doing on their phone and hopefully leave more intelligent, more inspired, more. And so anyway, we had the vision of the experience, and then yes, we just had to evolve the store. And yes, it was expensive, but the return, trust me, there was a return on the investment. Because
I know we've all walked in with perfectly working phones and walked out with a new one that did nothing much more than the old one.
And a watch.
And a watch, right.
Yeah. And hopefully dropping the other ones down to your family and your kids, et cetera.
But abandoning, maybe that's too strong of a term, abandoning the current retail model, combining the three, and then building out these beautiful stores that became classrooms is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit. Part of all of that, sort of the operating system behind a lot of that, was something that you had discovered and cultivated at Burberry around this whole idea of human energy. Because to move anything forward like that,
you have to unite people.
You have to unite people. So again, with that as the transition and as the setup, talk specifically. I know we're kind of switching gears without a clutch for a minute. I want you to talk about these three components of human energy because they explain, I think, your ability and kind of the secret sauce of how you turned a company around and how you got Apple to think differently about their responsibility, not just in the world, but to the world. Can you jump off right there?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, throughout Burberry, as things were just moving so fast and things were just we had such tremendous success, and then you want to understand how and why as you're beginning to scale. So we brought in a cultural anthropologist, set him to go out to all of the offices, talk to everybody, so that we could understand what we did, et cetera. And he's actually the one that came back and he said, "You have unleashed this incredible energy." And him and a couple of people they were the ones that kind of convinced me to do this TED Talk, because they said, nobody's talking about human energy. Everybody talks about, the environment and fossil fuels, et cetera, and wind and solar, but nobody talks about unleashing the power of human energy. So they shared with us what they felt we had done. And they said, what you've done is you've created this incredible foundation of trust. And you've done that because you do these videos and you're so authentic and you're present and they believe you and you care. And then you go out twice a year to all of these stores and you get hundreds of people together to celebrate and you're there, right? And so they said it's all of these things that you've done. So you've created this incredible foundation of trust. And when you create that foundation of trust, it opens people's minds and they don't feel like they're a fool if they ask a question or have a crazy idea. Yep. They're not going to get laughed at by their peers. So it enables them to use their God-given instincts, right? Their intuition.
Yep.
And then from there, now they're using their intuition. Now they're moving forward and they're testing and they're trying and they're winning because they're so united and they're thinking everything through. And then that goes into what I call belief. Now they believe it. It's happening. Yep. And when you're in that, belief is hope and belief is dreaming bigger. And of course, when you're in the hope, now you've got data to support it, right? So now you've got this combination when you're in that belief phase of using your instincts, but now you've got all the data and analytics so you can continue to sharpen, but you can just move fast. And they lose that whole fear of failure.
Yep.
And so that's what I mean. It's some people call it momentum, right? Some people say, success breeds success. There's all types of, but when I learned at Burberry that these were kind of the phases that and then you can take that to Apple and you can say, okay, how early on? What can I do to build trust? And the videos worked really well at Burberry, so I said, how about if we do a video? And one of the
by video, you were communicating all the way through the organization, just
all
everybody.
55,000.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. Translated in 30 different languages.
Oh, wow.
When I started, they wanted me to send an email. I'm like, I don't want to read an email.
Yeah.
This is a YouTube, WeChat, Instagram world. I mean, everything's got to be visual or verbal or video and so I said, look, let's just start doing them 3 thoughts in 3 minutes or less. But the very first one I did, and I said, no edits, no hair and makeup, no, we're going to do it from an iPhone, just like everybody would do it on YouTube. Wow. So they've got the phone there, their phones, my phone sitting right next to me. And I said, 3 minutes, no editing, nothing. And, and everything at Apple's like perfect and buttoned up. Yep. And so right in between it, my phone rings and it's my youngest daughter, Angelina, in high school.
You answered the phone.
I picked up the phone and I said, hi, baby, you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, I'm doing a video. Let me call you back in a couple of minutes. Put the phone down and just kept talking to the team.
Oh, gosh.
And of course,
you became so human in that moment. Wow. You became a mother.
Right?
Wow.
I became one of them. Right?
Yeah.
I'm working. I have a family. And I showed you that I put my family first.
Wow.
Right? I mean.
Okay. This is, again, there's so much to unpack. And there are so many takeaways because we talked about this before. I kept saying, wait. I wanted to take notes. So I want to go back to these 3 things because this is not intuitive. You lean very much into your intuition and you encourage people to lean into their intuition as leaders. But the brilliance of these 3 things is if there's not if there's not trust, then when I'm in a meeting with you and I have my idea, I'm going to sit there and either talk myself out of sharing it because I'm not sure you're going to like it, or I'm going to feel like I've got to come up with more data to support my intuition and I'm never going to get to it. But by creating this culture of trust, by modeling it, being transparent, being available, and you said it opens up creativity, but more specifically, it gives people permission to lean into their intuition. And that's that's person's brilliance. That's where their experience and life and everything comes together. So culture of trust, fueling intuition, and then talk about belief. What is that? And how does it relate to the 3?
Yeah, again, belief is the hope. But now it's the hope and it's the bigger dreams.
Right.
But backed up now with all of the qualitative metrics that you have from that success.
And that then fuels and again, it kind of creates its own momentum in a way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the energy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and I used to call it a snowball. This now that we've got this energy, it's like a snowball going down the mountain, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And the more you bring in, and the more initiatives, but as long as you have to protect that that culture of trust. I mean, you can't ever, and I always say the higher up you go, the more you better be present, the more you better lean in, and the more authentic. They have got to feel you day in and day out. I mean, it's no different than a coach, right? You don't let the team all of a sudden be successful and then not show up. I mean, no, you have to lean in more because the stakes are higher and it's getting bigger and more complex. And
is there anything you did to battle because the more responsibility you have, the less accessible you naturally become. But because you understood this, you fought this off somehow. Or I guess the videos were part of that. You just can speak straight through
videos
the
and then
culture.
just more larger events. We actually built a theater in the headquarters at Burberry, and we would just constantly, we'd have external speakers come in. We had Howard Schultz come in. We had Mark Benioff come in, and then we also would stream it to like 10,000 people around the world and buy thousands of their books. And so we did anything. We used to say that, yes, we had to consistently communicate, but we had to celebrate as well.
Yep.
So we looked for a
do that
reason to
through an
celebrate. No.
So again, this is so powerful.
Big
So
events all over the world.
You were not a signature on an email. You were a face on a video. Now, some of the folks listening, they hate to watch themselves on a video, and they hate to record video, and they we can lead by proxy, and I can lead through the org chart, and you abandoned all that, and again, the rawness, if that's a word, of those iPhone videos, super powerful. Yeah. So switching gears one more time, and we'll wrap this up. So speak to the entrepreneur, the average business owner, somebody who's in middle management, and I mean, everybody, I think, would embrace the idea of human energy and facilitating human energy and fueling human energy. I don't think anybody would argue with the idea that it has to begin with trust, and that means I have to be a trustworthy person, and then I have to trust you with responsibility so that I get to find out whether you are as well. Trust, intuition, unlocking intuition, belief. What would you say? I mean, just advise us. How do we start? Where do we start? What would you do? Just top of mind. Instruct us. I mean, we get the concepts. They're irrefutable. They're powerful.
Yeah, but I also think that it starts, let's face it, to build trust, and whether that's in your marriage or in any relationship, your values have to be aligned. And then the behaviors have to be aligned. You have to do what you say you're going to do with deep care. And right, so it's not just one thing. It ends up in trust, but what do you do to build that trust? And so to me, and again, I don't care if it's communicating with my kids or communicating with my husband or communicating in business. It's building this deep, enduring, lifelong relationship. So it's consistent, authentic communication. It's always being present, no matter how far away you are. You can still be present in this day and age with technology. You can still say, I love you. I miss you. I know how that makes me feel. So, I've been raised do unto others. And so I constantly do to other people what I really want them to do.
It's pretty simple when you boil it down to that, right?
And I was raised, whatever I give, I get tenfold in return. And so if I love you and I care about you, then you will love me and care, right? And it's not just money. It's not just, you smile, you get a bigger smile back. And so yeah, I mean, I was just raised that way. So to me, it's not rocket science. You don't need to go out and read a lot of books. You need to build relationships with people that you want to have with people. And, maybe you're an introvert. Maybe you don't like people, and maybe you're not meant to be a leader. That's okay. There's roles for everybody, but humans aren't meant to do things individually.
Right.
Humans.
We were designed for community.
You bet.
Absolutely.
You bet. And so what is your role in being a part of that community? And so you have to be present and you have to be authentic. Why do you want to be anything other than yourself? Right? But I think so many people are so afraid to be themselves. It's, and these are some of the good things I think coming out of social media. It's like, love yourself, be, and then you'll be a greater contributor to that community, et cetera. So,
wow,
that might have been a little bit rambling. I'm sorry.
No, this is powerful. So, my takeaway is trust unlocks intuition. Intuition is a gold mine in any organization because intuition is the product of a person's combined life experiences. We all have different life experiences. But if you unlock the intuition of a group of people, there is so much there. But it's not going to happen unless they feel safe. So that's why there's trust. And then once there's something to show for, then there's belief. Hey, this works.
You bet.
And we can work together and we can change the world. Thank you so much for your time.
You are more than welcome. It's an honor.
So Angela has obviously left all of us with a lot to think about and perhaps some things we need to do or do differently. And to make that easy for you and your team, we have created a free resource to help you process this conversation. Just visit the link at the bottom of your screen. And as always, thanks for joining us at Leadership Labs. And if you liked this content, feel free to share it with a friend. And we will see you next time.